Right. Good evening, councillors, and welcome to the first of two meetings of council this evening. The ordinary meeting of council and also an extraordinary meeting of council to confer the honour, freedom of the city status on Mr. Richard Jacobs. Both are being undertaken virtually in accordance with recently enacted government regulations during the current coronavirus pandemic. Sadly, on a more sombre note, I wish to impart the very sad news that Councillor Judith Patterson died last Thursday, and I'm sure you wish to join with me in a minute's silence in memory of her dedicated public service to the residents she served and to the city. We'll start the minute from now. Thank you, councillors. I do know that there are two councillors who wish to speak about Judith at this time. The first will be Councillor Sheldon, and finally, Councillor, the leader, filled by Alec. Are there any other councillors who would like to talk at this time? Please let me know now.
Lord Mayor, Andrew Levitt to just say as well. I can't get my hand up, sorry.
Got a hand up from Councillor Oliver, Lord Mayor.
Okay, Andrew. Are there any others? Councillor Oliver. So it'll be in this one, Andrew Lebetter and Councillor Oliver. Oh, and Councillor Morse. Are there any others? And the leader, right. Okay. Can I call upon Councillor Sheldon now then to say some words? Councillor Sheldon.
Yep, thank you very much, Lord Mayor. I'll be brief since several other people are speaking. Although Judy Patterson has only been a member of this City Council for less than 3 years, this being her first term, she was previously a Labour councillor in Camden in London and indeed served there as mayor. You can measure someone, I think, by what they do in adversity. And I remember not that long ago when Judy sought selection for the by-election in Newtown St Leonard's. She was unsuccessful. Someone else was selected and indeed elected. Now, plenty of us in that situation walk away, mutter under our breath, and just take a break. Judy did the exact opposite. She worked hard to get the other person that beat her in that selection elected, demonstrating that she is a socialist, and for that she has my respect, and at this time I think of her family. Yeah, that's me done, and my video is gone as well.
Many thanks. Councillor. Councillor Ledbetter. Right, well, in the absence of Councillor Ledbetter on the screen at this moment, can I call upon Councillor Oliver, please, to say a few words?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say a few words about Judy and tell you a very short story about what was really an ordinary day, but which summed up who Judy was. It was a very cold January day, early in 2018, and we were going out canvassing to try and get me elected. Judy, by been elected as a councillor in Beacon Heath, and as Councillor Sheldon said, she'd already worked hard in Newtown St Leonard's even when she hadn't been selected, but she was just my top canvasser. That meant that she had to get the bus from central Exeter out to Pinhoe, and then whether it was rain or shine, she would be there canvassing. That particular day it was raining, and as all canvassers will know, eventually the paper on which you do the ticks becomes so sodden that instead of doing a tick, the paper rips. And when it got to that point, me and Judy just looked at each other, burst out laughing, and decided we'd better give up. When we usually finished canvassing, there were a few of us, we would go to the pub to warm up. However, on that day, because we were near my house, we went to my house. My husband made sandwiches and cups of tea for everybody. Half an hour later, we were all feeling a lot happier and a lot warmer. Everybody drifted away, but Judy stayed and we started chatting. Then we discovered the leftover Christmas beer. We may have got a little merry. There's nothing wrong with that if you've got the leftover Christmas beer. And Judy could be the most entertaining and warm person you can imagine. And I think we spent the next few hours giggling and getting merrier and telling wilder tales and putting the world to rights. And we just got louder and louder, as women sometimes do, as we laughed and shrieked. Finally, Judy tottered off to get the bus, whereupon my husband and sons came downstairs and went, "Oh, what was all that noise about? You two sounded like witches." But the way they said it, they were laughing because we'd just had such a happy time. And I think that sums up Judy as a hardworking, lifelong Labour member who believed totally in what she was doing, and also a very warm, friendly person. And I will miss her friendship. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. I can see Councillor Ledbetter's back on screen.
Apologies
Councillor
for that.
Ledbetter.
I was following Councillor Sheldon and my screen went dead as well. On behalf of the Conservative group, I also wish to add my condolences and say how saddened we are also to hear of the passing of Councillor Paddison, and our thoughts are also with the family at this difficult time. So that is on behalf of the Conservative group. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Ledbetter. Councillor Morse.
I think I should start by saying that Judy would have been hugely uncomfortable with us outpouring of love and gratitude to her, and would have been very scoffing and scathing about the way we all spoke about her. Judy was my co-councillor in Mincing Lake and Whipton, and you have never seen someone so little move so quickly up so many steps and so many hills. She was, as people have said, a hard-working individual. I think the really lovely thing about Judy is the amount of tributes that Ruth and I are receiving from the local community and the local groups that she had engaged with in Whipton and Mincing Lake. She was a great friend. She was not always easy. She was a difficult woman when she wanted to be, and that was one of her lovely charms, to be honest. But she was hardworking and she really believed in Labour values, and she worked so hard to improve the lot of the people that lived here in this area. And she had the best giggle in the world, and I'm going to miss her very much.
Thank you. And finally, Councillor Bialik.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I think we can all tell by the tributes that have come so far that Judy was well liked and respected, not just as a person, but also for her political position. And I think that's important to remember. I would like to thank Kevin Mitchell, who contacted me over the weekend and who's emailed me about this. Also Andrew and the many people who have contacted me and other members of the Labour Party to share in our upset over Judy sadly passing away. She will be remembered, and I think she was a good councillor for the Mincing Lake Whipton ward, and she will be missed by them all. I feel sure of that. We have had a number of people contact us, and what I've asked Laura Wright, Councillor Wright, to compile a bit of a list for me, and any messages, little anecdotes or whatever messages. And we were thinking that if we pull that together, we may do something for the family as a little memento from us all in order to show our respect. Judy was also the mayor in Camden. I didn't live in Camden, but I used to work in Camden for a while, so I can remember some of that. And I do remember, of course, Jean Kemp, who was Judy's mum, and she was that author of The Tamworth Pig, and Alan Kemp, her stepfather, who was that part of that team with the former Councillor Edwards, myself, and Alan Kemp, and those NUR people with Chester Long and everything. So we knew the family very well for a good few years. She will be missed, and Judy, we remember you.
Thank you, Councillor. Before we commence, can I please remind all members of the following? Please remain focused on the topic being discussed. Please try to avoid repeating points which have already been made. Please avoid interrupting other councillors and respect the position of the chair. Please indicate by show of hands or using the Zoom blue hand function if you wish to speak on a matter. I'll then call you as appropriate. Please may I emphasise the importance of keeping your microphone on mute when you're not speaking. Just a reminder that the method of voting on matters will be that I shall start by asking for any councillors who are voting against a matter to say so first, followed by those abstaining. That will give myself and the officers a chance to see whether there appears to be a majority of those in favour of a matter and should avoid the need to read out the names of all councillors. I will remind you of this when we get later into the meeting. Please remember that this meeting is still being broadcast in the normal way via Facebook Live, so members of the public can still hear and see what is being said and decided upon. So please be aware what is in your background. With these matters in mind, can I call upon Mr. Street, the Corporate Manager, Democratic and Civic Support, to do a roll call of all councillors and officers to ascertain who is in attendance. John.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. You're here yourself, Lord Mayor. I'm sat here with you, so you're present. Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Henson.
Yes.
Councillor Atkinson. Councillor Atkinson.
Yes.
Councillor thank you. Councillor Begley.
Don't believe Councillor Begley's here, John.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bialik.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Branston. Thank you. Councillor Buswell.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Fole.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Foggin.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Gassane.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Hannaford.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Harvey.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor David Henson.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Lamb. Councillor Ledbetter.
Present, Mr. Harvey. Mr. Street.
Thank you. Councillor Lyons has sent her apologies. Councillor Martin.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Kevin Mitchell.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Michael Mitchell.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Diana Moore.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Jemima Moore.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Morse.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Newby.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Oliver.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Owen.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Packham.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Pearson.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Quantz.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Sheldon.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Sills.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Sparks.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Sutton.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Vizard.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Wardle.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Warwick.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Williams.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Wood.
Present.
Thank you. And Councillor Wright.
Present.
Thank you. I believe Councillor Begley is now with us. And is Councillor Lamb.
Councillor
Sorry.
Begley.
Thank you, Councillor Begley. And Councillor Lamb, are you here?
Yes, I've seen him, Lord Mayor. I think he's difficulty unmuting.
Okay. So, Lord Mayor, and for officer-wise, Kareem Hassan, Chief Executive Growth Directed. Present. Thank you. Barnal Kafaji, Director, Corporate Services.
Present.
Thank you. JP Hedge, Director, Culture, Leisure and Tourism.
Present.
Thank you. David Hodgson, Director, Finance.
Present.
Thank you. And then there's, as long as myself from the Democratic Services, I've got my colleagues Howard Bassett, Mark Devin and Sharon Sissons as well. Lord Mayor, I can confirm that we are quorated this evening with potentially 38 councillors here, Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Many thanks, John. Right, thank you, members. The first item on the agenda are the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 21st of July 2020. Is someone prepared to move these minutes as a correct record of the proceedings?
Yes, Lord Mayor, moved.
Thank you, Leader. Is there a seconder?
Yes, seconding Lord Mayor, Councillor Sutton.
Thank you. Is everyone in favour? Thank you. Are there any abstentions? Clearly carried. Thank you. Item 2, official communications. I wish to advise all councillors that Councillor Lyons is taking a short period of absence, as we understand she's currently in hospital. And so I know you'll join with me in wishing her a speedy recovery. We look forward to her returning to council very soon. The next item on the agenda is to advise you of other official communications. On the 15th of September, the RAF flag flew over the Guildhall, commemorating the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Britain Day. I welcome the success of the annual Heritage Open Days last month, which showcased the city's history by opening up buildings and spaces, but obviously with a much more limited numbers and more creative events, including virtual tours and workshops. As Lord Mayor, I was able to visit the Custom House and the Devon and Exeter Institution, which has recently received a £1 million grant from the National Lottery Fund. I appreciate that there are other councillors who also have achieved long service with the City Council, but I hope you'll join with me in congratulating Councillor Richard Branston, who has completed 20 years public service since he was elected to the City Council. I wish to offer my congratulations to the following who've been recognised in the Queen's Birthday Honours. Hazel Bound, a former Deputy Mayor in 1997, and she has received a British Empire Medal for her work supporting the Long Distance Walking Association in the South West. Julian Tagg, Chairman of Exeter City Community Trust, has been awarded a British Empire Medal for services to sport and the community in Exeter. And that was never more evident in the part his team took in the City Council's community response to support the vulnerable and those who were shielding. I'm also pleased to confirm that Jo Yelland, the Transformation Director here at Exeter City Council, has also received a British Empire Medal for her service in reducing health inequalities in the city through her work on Wellbeing Exeter. Exeter Chiefs have continued their climb in rugby's top flight, with the team playing as part of the Euro competition over the weekend. Not to forget, of course, that we won. I'm sure you'll join with me in wishing them every success in the Premiership finals this weekend, 24th of October. Finally, I'm pleased to say that after much careful thought and attention, the dedicated staff at the Guildhall were able to offer in the Guildhall last month, and I understand it also enabled our Guildhall benches to be used once more. I do have a couple of other things that I want to talk about, and the first one is that I was privileged to go to the Royal Marine Camp for the third occasion during my mayoralty. I was the only civilian there and spent some quality time with the Commandant, Simon Chapman. And I wanted to tell you, apart from the recruits who were outstanding, something that Simon told me, and I think it's important because it's topical. Simon Chapman has been liaising and meeting with the directors of the university to actually find a way of ensuring that the recruits, and I think there are about 2,500 down at Lympstone as we speak, from rubbing shoulders too closely with students from the university. Over the years, the Marines will come up during their jobs in the city. The students have been doing that since the year dot. But they actually have now said to the Royal Marines, actually, this is probably not the best if Simon Lane in environmental health. And I do hope you'll join with me in actually appreciating that the Royal Marines are going all out. They're going the extra mile to keep the infection rate as low as possible. Clearly, they don't want to get any of their Royal Marines sick at this time. I also paid another visit, probably my fourth or fifth civic duty since lockdown. I went to the Atwill Arms Houses just by Wetherspoons there as you leave Exeter on the left-hand side, and can tell you that those arms houses have been made into a fantastic home for people. 24 dwellings will be there, and the refurbishment is second to none. I've got one or two more things coming up, but I won't bore you with those. We'll have those at the next time, in the next council meeting. I do know that our leader, Councillor Bialik, will want to talk to you now. He has an item he will be discussing with you, the Housing and Harbour Boards. Over to you, Councillor Bialik.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. As you will remember, the executive appointed, and in consultation with the other group leaders, members to sit on the Housing Advisory Board and also the Harbour Advisory Board. And I would like to put the names forward now, Lord Mayor. First, for the Housing Advisory Board, they are Councillors Wright, Councillors Hannaford, Councillor Packham, Councillor Diana Moore, and Councillor Wardle. For the Harbour Board, Councillor Harvey, Councillor Pearson, Councillor Sills, Councillor Ledbetter, and Councillor Sparks. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bialik. That now brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is the opportunity to submit an advanced public question. I can confirm that we've received 3 public questions. We would normally invite those questioners who are present to set out their question. A response will be given by the appropriate member, and then the questioner will have the opportunity to ask a supplementary question based on the response given. 2 questions have been received from Mrs. Cynthia Thompson. Mrs. Thompson is not able to be present, but has asked that Mr. Street ask the question on her behalf. Mr. Street.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The question is, the Audit and Governance meeting reported funding for Pinho Hub was approved at Council, although minutes states, whilst the fund has been set aside, Council also needs to approve an expenditure budget to enable the funding to be used. Could the leader advise when the required expenditure budget was presented to Council for approval?
Leader of the Council, Councillor Bialik, are you able to respond to Mrs. Thompson's first question?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Minute 114, to which Mrs. Thompson refers, begins. The report of the Assistant Director Finance was submitted, which sought approval for an expenditure budget of £100,000 to enable the funding set aside for the new community hub in Pinho to be allocated. The resolution of the Council was to adopt the recommendation that follows. Recommended that the Council approves an expenditure budget of £100,000 as Exeter's contribution to the new community hub plan for Pinho. Therefore, the expenditure budget was approved at the Council on the 18th of October 2016. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Leader. Mr. Street will now put Mrs. Thompson's second question to the Leader. John.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Following the conclusion of the objection to the City Council's 2018-19 annual accounts, could the Leader advise when the findings of the objection, noted in the Statement of Reasons by the External Auditor, will be presented to the Audit and Governance Committee and made available to the public? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bialik.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, again. The Statement of Reasons is a letter from Grant Thornton to Mrs. Cynthia Thompson. It is not directed to Exeter City Council and will not therefore be presented to a committee or published, as it is not our document.
Thank you, Councillor Bialik. We now have a third question, and it's been received from Ms. Marilyn Spur, who I now welcome to the meeting, and I will ask you to read your question, which is directed to Councillor Rachel Sutton, the Deputy Leader and Portfolio Holder for Net Zero Exeter 2030. Councillor Sutton will then respond to your question. Please note that you will have the opportunity to ask a supplementary question, provided it is based on the response you are about to receive. Ms. Spur, please ask your question now. I know, Sharon, that you were talking to Ms. Spur earlier. Are you on the phone to her again?
No, she should be there. Ms. Spur, I think can you hear us now? Ms. Marilyn Spur, can you hear us? Okay, I think you're unmuted now and we should be able to hear you. Ms. Spur?
Lord Mayor, if it helps, I have got a copy of Ms. Spur's question, which I can ask if you wish.
From the chair, then, I will ask John Street to read the question. It'll still be asked, and we will get a response from the Deputy Leader. John, thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. On 21st of July, I asked the Council if it would give the climate emergency the same prominence on its website as the coronavirus information. From the response, I was led to believe that the answer was yes, and I expected to see it given a position on the home page. Would the councillors agree that the site still does not convey a sense of urgency?
Okay. Councillor Sutton, would you be kind enough to respond?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yes, and through you, Lord Mayor, if I could thank Mrs. Marilyn Spur for her question. Since she brought the matter to the council on the 21st of July, the leader of the council has reorganised the portfolio responsibilities and has designated that the deputy leader, which currently is me, will have the portfolio responsibility for net zero Exeter 2030. And in addition, a director has been tasked with responsibility for delivering and resourcing this ambitious net zero plan. It has also been added as a core corporate priority on which the council will deliver. There can be no doubt of its importance in our autumn update of our strategy. The council took a proactive stance in communicating net zero to residents, and it continues to do so. This matter was placed on the homepage with the link to the news item as requested by Mrs. Spur, but it has subsequently, the homepage has subsequently changed when it needed to. There may be continued need to make changes to the front page of the website. It is an important way of communicating with our residents and actually has to be used to communicate numerous issues at different times. It may well be that and I hope in due course, it will be back on the homepage, but services such as information around the pandemic have to be communicated to residents, and occasionally they will take priority on our website. But I can reassure Mrs. Spur that it is of crucial importance and a key priority for Exeter City Council going forward. Thank you. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. Councillor, yeah, well, sorry, yes. Ms. Spur, if you're live now and you've joined us, is there a supplementary question that you would like to ask of the Deputy Leader? Are you there? Can I ask Sharon, have you spoken to Ms. Spur?
Yes, Lord Mayor, I did communicate via her mobile phone, but I can't see any reason why she unfortunately we are unable to hear her. *6. Well, I don't know if Ms. Spur can hear that. Otherwise, Lord Mayor, thank you.
In the absence of there being a supplementary question, we will move on. The next item on the agenda are the minutes of the various committees of the Council that have been held over the last few months since our meeting in July. Can I please remind all members that the relevant chair will present the minutes of their meeting en bloc and then ask if members have any questions to raise. If not, I will move on to the next chair to do the same. However, when it comes to the minutes of the executive, the leader will present his minutes one by one, drawing particular attention to each and every recommendation so that members and the public are aware that decisions need to be taken. An individual vote will then be taken on each recommendation. May I start with the Planning Committee meeting at agenda item 4, held on the 7th of September 2020. And can I please call on Councillor Williams as Deputy Chair of the Planning Committee to introduce those minutes starting on page 23. I do believe there may be a recommendation in that particular committee. So over to you, Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I present the minutes of the Planning Committee meeting of Monday, the 7th of September 2020, numbers 59 to 66. I will come back to item 62 with a recommendation, but first of all, are there any questions on numbers 59 to 66? Thank you. If we look now at item 62 with the recommendation, I believe we have this available for the screen. I will read it out. Recommended to Council that the contents of the petition be noted and the progress being made to ensure robust policies and plans are in place to meet the development. I so move. I think we need a seconder. Yeah.
May we have a seconder for that, please?
I'll second, Councillor Morse.
Thank you, Councillor Morse.
Lord Mayor, could I just, before you carry on, could I just say that there were some words missed off that screen then, unfortunately. So the second recommendation should read, sorry for clarification, the progress being made to ensure robust policies and plans are in place to meet the development demands being placed on the city be noted and supported. Thank you, Lord Mayor, just for clarification.
Thank you, John. Right, we can now open it up for discussion. Are there any councillors, any members who wish to speak around this recommendation? Well, the first one will be Councillor Diana Moore. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. So I presented this petition on behalf of residents. Over 4,000 people had signed the petition, of which over 2,000 were from Exeter. I think people are keenly involved and interested in planning, and I would hope with the development of the new local plan that there is, in the context of this robust plans, a good and clear process for involving the community in the development of that new plan and the planning process, because people are interested and they do want to get involved and they have a lot of local knowledge and expertise to contribute to that process. Thank you.
I think the Lord Mayor's IT may have frozen there.
I think it has, yes. Can you bear with me a moment? I'll try and save the Lord Mayor, shall we say?
Councillor Sheldon's Zoom has crashed as well, but I don't think that's linked to the Lord Mayor's.
Can't the Lord Mayor just sit in John's seat for a moment?
Try that now. What are you trying to do now, Lord Mayor?
Way then. And the next speaker is Councillor John. Councillor.
It was Emma Morse.
Councillor Emma Morse to speak now. Em, can you?
It was just to respond to the comment that had just been made, which is under the current, because we're in a white paper, but under the current local plan process, the onus of responsibility is on the local authority to prove that they have consulted sufficiently with the public. And I can't imagine that's going to change under any new white paper. So I can assure you that the planning team and the council will be consulting appropriately as is demanded under the regulations.
Thank you, Councillor Morse. Are there any other speakers? Okay, we will now then move to the vote. Is there anybody against? Indicate now.
Can't see anyone indicating, Lord Mayor.
Are there any abstentions?
Again, I can not see any, Lord Mayor.
The recommendation then is carried.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I move the minutes of that meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right, moving on.
Next one, Lord Mayor.
The next item on the agenda is number 5. And are the minutes of the Planning Committee held on the 17th of September 2020. I call upon Councillor Morse as chair for that meeting to introduce the minutes starting on page 41.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'd like to present the minutes of the Planning Committee held on 13th to 17th, Thursday, the 17th of September 2020. Does anyone have any questions?
In the absence of any questions,
I'd like to
we will
move the
now move.
minutes.
Okay, go on, Councillor. Move them.
May I move the minutes?
Yes. You don't have a seconder for that, do we?
They're just noted, Lord Mayor, because
the minutes are noted. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is number 6. They're the minutes of the Strategic Scrutiny Committee held on the 24th of September 2020. And I call upon Councillor Sills as chair of the committee to introduce the minutes starting on page 51. Councillor Sills.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I present the minutes of the Strategic Scrutiny Committee held virtually on the 24th of September 2020. Are there any questions?
Yes, please.
Councillor Diana Moore, question then.
Thank you. I have 2 questions, please, Councillor Sills. On minute 51, as the moment has passed to invite Devon County Council to discuss the proposed transport strategy before the Devon County Council Cabinet meets to approve it on November the 11th, will the portfolio holder be seeking to invite Devon County Council officers to present the strategy to Exeter City Councillors after its adoption, because there's a lot of issues raised in it that will affect much of the work of the council? And I have a second question. Would you like it now, or would you like the portfolio holder to respond first?
Can I clarify the minute? I can't see a minute 51.
Councillor Moore, have you perhaps got a different number?
It's on page 51. I do beg your pardon. It's on page 51, and it's minute. Oh, I'm sorry, I've got in a muddle, but it does relate to. It relates to a minute number 19.
Okay, Councillor Sills, would you like to take that one now, or do you want the second question?
I believe it's a question to the portfolio holder, which I believe is, it's not Sutton anymore, is it? Apologies. Is it still Councillor Sutton? Yeah.
I think it is Councillor Sills, yes.
Apologies, Councillor Sutton. Sorry, it's very confusing on the phones.
No, it's fine. The minute 19. Minute 19 is actually the minutes of the meeting, and I can assure Councillor Diana Moore that discussions are going on with county council elected members and officers and elected members and officers of the city council, and I'm sure there will be an appropriate opportunity to actually invite county council colleagues to come along and present to a scrutiny committee, if that is the wish of the chair of the scrutiny committee and that committee in due course.
Thank you. And just to add to that, of course, as chair, we will welcome anyone who wishes to speak on this issue. But once we've resolved the coronavirus crisis at the moment, we're having specific meetings relating to the COVID response. So it may be a while, but yeah, happy to do that.
Councillor Diana Moore, your second question, please.
Thank you. So this relates to minute 22 on page 56.
Okay, fire away.
Please can the portfolio holder advise when and how the council will respond to the report produced by Exeter Connect on the response on the work of the mutual aid groups? Maybe the portfolio holder can meet with the groups to discuss plans for responding to a second coronavirus wave.
Councillor Sills, will you answer that question, or shall we move back to the portfolio holder?
It would have to go to the portfolio holder. Again, I'm going to take a 50-50 guess. I'm going to say it's Councillor Duncan Wood.
No, it's me.
Councillor Gussain.
I will answer as far as it goes. The question,
a scrutiny meeting here, aren't we?
The question as it was asked.
She's mistaken. There was, if you go to minutes 22, there is no such thing as that, and she knows that that question should not be asked in that particular committee. It is related to customer scrutiny committee and not to the strategic committee. It is related to communities and culture and not to the other two, the leisure or the city. So yeah, it is. I can answer it, but this is not the right place for that question.
Thank you. That explains.
Just a point of order, please. So the point is on page 56. The committee didn't. That question wasn't carried forward to that committee, so there is no other place to ask this question in these minutes. And so I would be very grateful if the portfolio holder would be able to answer the question. Thank you for that.
I believe on standing orders, I can't take that as a question because it's not relating to the minutes in front of me. John Street, you might be able to advise, but I can't see anything in relation to that.
Well, I think the advice that was given by the portfolio holder. I think the advice that was given by Councillor Gussain as the portfolio holder reiterates the point that is on minute number 56 there, or point 56, that this matter will be taken to the meeting of the Customer Focused Scrutiny Committee in due course.
And it was taken to the Customer Focus.
Sorry, it was taken to the Customer Focused meeting, which will the minutes for which are later in the agenda this evening.
Thank you. Are there any further questions?
Thank you. Thank you, councillors. I hope that's resolved the question. Councillor Sills, do you wish to move?
I beg to move.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is number 7, and are the minutes of the Customer Focus Scrutiny Committee held on the 8th of October 2020. I call upon Councillor Vizard as chair of the committee to introduce the minutes starting on page 63. Councillor Vizard.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm pleased to present the minutes of the Customer Focused Scrutiny Committee of Thursday, the 8th of October 2020. Do members have any questions? Okay, I beg to move.
Councillor Diana Moore has a question. Councillor Moore.
Thank you. I would like to ask my previous question. Thank you for the guidance correcting the place. Please, can the portfolio holder advise when and how the council will respond to the report produced by Exeter Connect on the work of the mutual aid groups? And perhaps the portfolio holder can meet with the groups to discuss plans for responding to a second coronavirus wave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor
Vizard, would you pass this back to the portfolio holder, or do you wish to answer it yourself?
Yes, please. I'll pass over to Councillor Hussain, please.
First of all,
Councillor Hussain.
Yeah. Yes, I was going to say that this question was answered, and you can see some of the answers in written, and it was forwarded to Councillor Moore. Second, she asked now a further question. Yes, we are always in conversation with Exeter Connect, and they are in the process. They are in the process of communicating with all the mutual aid groups, and there is a plan in place to do so immediately if the need arises, because so far everything that was there is still there. All the infrastructure is there, including the hub, including everything, and if it needs to be stepped up, if situation demands it, it will. So all is in place at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hussain. We'll move that back now to Councillor Vizard.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. If there are no more questions, I beg to move the minutes.
In the absence of any further questions, we now move on to agenda item number 8, the minutes of the Audit and Governance Committee held on the 16th of September 2020. I call upon Councillor Wardle, as chair of the committee, to introduce the minutes starting on page 77. Councillor Wardle.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I can't start the video at the moment, but I would like to present the minutes of the Audit and Governance Committee held on the 16th of September 2020 and ask if there are any questions.
First question will be from Councillor Yolanda Henson.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It's just the question of the audit letter that was put forward to by Mrs. Thompson. I asked a question, why in fact was this letter not produced to members? And the leader did go through a certain amount of legal matters with it on dates, but the date of the letter that we are in question, which was the statement of reasons, was 17/18, and on that audit coming up from, which would have been 18/19, could not be closed on the City Council because of this particular letter. Now that is already in writing.
Point of order, Lord Mayor. What is the question? I'm trying desperately.
I am asking the question. Give me time, Phil, because I am getting to it. I'm sorry you're irritated by it, but the fact remains that the statement, the audit could not be signed off because of this letter. And then you go on to say that you did not receive this letter. The letter that I'm complaining and have complained
Lord Mayor, she does need
continuously
to ask the question.
was that the letter was sent, a letter from the audit committee about the statement of reason was sent to the City Council. And I just help me to understand where it is.
What was
That's
the question,
all I'm asking.
Yolanda?
I'm here.
Yeah, what, just frame the question, Yolanda. Question now.
But it is, the question is, it was the procedure that we were arguing about, and where was the letter that I saw, which we were in which does affect the City Council, was sent to the City Council because the address was above it at the time I saw it. And where is it? That's all I'm asking.
Okay,
why
thank
is
you.
members of this committee not shown it?
Well, thank you, Councillor Henson. Councillor Wardle, would you like to answer that, or do you want to pass it to the portfolio holder?
I think I'll give way to the leader on this one, please, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Bialik.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I can understand Councillor Henson's frustration, but I suppose if we were in Parliament, I would be saying now, I'd refer the honourable member to an answer I gave some moments ago. And I gave an answer at the start of the meeting. If Councillor Henson has further detailed questions that she doesn't understand, and I can understand this is a very complex situation, I would suggest that she meets with the chair of the Audit and Governance, together with David Hodgson, the Director for Finance, to ascertain what the problem is. I am keen, like her and like many others, to get to the bottom of this situation, because I cannot see for the life of me what we have done wrong in allocating £100,000 towards a community hub in an area which is undergoing a lot of development at this time, and there is an absence of community facilities. And I am feeling quite awkward on what have we done wrong here in trying to support that community. If there are detail, please meet with us properly and say what you want to say. But I think, as you can tell, I think a lot of people in Pinho will want to say to me and to the councillors in Pinho, can we please have a hub which is desperately needed for our community? Thank you, Lord Mayor.
On a point of explanation, thank you,
Thank
Phil.
you,
I would,
Bialik.
on a point of explanation, please, Lord Mayor. Phil, I'm quite willing to come and it's nothing to do with the hub itself. It's the procedure, and that is the problem. But thank you for offering. I'd be more than delighted to meet. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Diana Moore, please.
Thank you. Can the portfolio holder or the leader confirm that a lease agreement and grant agreement or contract is now in place for the Pinho Community Hub?
Diana,
Both
are
will
you
be
muted?
Oh, can you hear me now? Hi, can you hear me now? Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Can the leader or the portfolio holder confirm that a lease agreement and grant agreement or contract is now in place with the Pinho Community Hub? Both will be crucial to enable the organisation to access investment from other funders.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I can answer this insofar as that we have had discussions, I understand, through a director with the team who
Thank you, Councillor Bialik.
We've had discussions with, I know discussions are ongoing with the appropriate director and the team bringing forward their proposals for the community hub in Pinho, which I must add is quite a sustainable project that they're bringing forward. I feel sure that the members for Pinho are fully aware of the situation. And whereas I appreciate the interest from other councillors in other wards to this detail, we can find that out. But I am more than satisfied that progress is being made to bring about a community hub for the people in Pinho, which we intend to properly support. And that's all I would say to that. I feel sure the councillors in Pinho are satisfied with the progress to date. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Can you bear with me a moment? We've lost the Lord Mayor's connection again, so forgive me. I'll just go and connect him. Excuse me.
Very careless, Mr. Street. Lose the Lord Mayor.
Yeah, to lose him twice, I think, is what was it? Sorry, the importance of being an.
Looks like carelessness. Yes.
Careless, yeah, sorry, yeah, sorry. My brain's gone numb. I can't think
To
why.
lose one parent is unfortunate. To lose two looks careless.
I can see why you
God
were
bless
portfolio
Oscar
holder for
Wilde.
culture. Yeah.
Yeah. God bless Oscar Wilde.
Whoever she was.
Right, we're back again, and Councillor Bialik, you will be answering the question that Councillor Diana Moore just raised.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I think they've heard it already, and they'd rather I didn't say all that again.
Okay. Right, I'm just going back to the other computer.
They should have given him a proper computer.
I've got to say, Lord Mayor, it worked better when you were at home.
You still can't beat 2 baked bean tins and a piece of string. Sorry, you just can't beat it.
You might still be muted, Lord Mayor.
Right, back to Councillor Wardle to move, please.
Lord Mayor, could I just second the minutes, please, before they're formally moved?
Yeah.
Thank you. I've seconded the minutes. Thank you.
Well, I formally moved the minutes, Lord Mayor, if you can hear me.
That's been accepted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Sorry. We're on to number 9. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is number 9, Strata Joint Scrutiny September 2020. My Councillor Atkinson, page 81.
Lord Mayor, before we do, Councillor Atkinson, could I suggest we have a 5-minute break whilst I try and sort out the Lord Mayor's connection, because it is quite a long way behind everybody else's and is causing quite a bit of confusion. So if you give me 5 minutes just to, if we can reconvene in just before 7:10, can I ask councillors, whilst we're in this break, to turn off their video and their microphones as whilst we're doing so? Thank you.
Atkinson to introduce the minutes starting on page 81. Councillor Atkinson, over to you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I apologise. I don't seem to be able to put my video on. I move the minutes of the Strata Joint Committee meeting of Tuesday, the 8th of September 2020, which was conducted virtually. Thank you.
Are there any questions of Councillor Atkinson?
Yes, I can.
No questions, Lord Mayor.
In the absence of any questions, Councillor Atkinson, can I ask you to move?
Could I ask either Trish Oliver or Councillor Sparks to second those minutes, please?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
I second them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver.
I beg to move those minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is number 10, and are the minutes of the Strata Joint Executive Committee meeting held on the 22nd of September 2020. I call upon Councillor Bialik to introduce the minutes starting on page 89.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Bialik.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I move the minutes of the 22nd of September 2020, minutes 23 to 2031 inclusive. I so move, Lord Mayor.
Are there any questions for Councillor Bialik? In the absence of any questions, Councillor Bialik, you move?
I move, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. I call on Councillor Bialik as Chair of the Executive to introduce the minutes of the two executive meetings, the first held on the 1st of September at agenda item 11, starting on page 93. Councillor Bialik.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Minutes of the 1st of September 2020, minute 84, 85, 86, 87, Lord Mayor. There are two recommendations on item 87, which is the Food Law and Health and Safety Enforcement Service Plan 2020 to 2021. The two recommendations, Lord Mayor, as everybody can see, I would formally move.
And formally seconded, Lord. Formally seconded, Lord Mayor. Councillor Sutton.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. Councillors, this is an opportunity to actually discuss this recommendation. Are there any councillors who wish to join the debate now? Please indicate.
There are none showing, Lord Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Bialik.
I move, Lord Mayor.
Okay. Are there any objections? Are there any abstentions?
None showing, Lord Mayor.
The recommendation is carried. Back to Councillor Bialik, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Minute 88, Financial Assistance Policy for the Better Care Fund. This is a resolved item, but also has a recommendation that we adopt the revised financial assistance policy for the Better Care Fund Lord Mayor. I so move.
Will seconder, please?
Seconded, Lord Mayor, Councillor Sutton.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. An opportunity for members to debate this particular recommendation. Does anybody wish to speak at this time?
None indicating, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Bialik?
I'd like to move the recommendation, Lord Mayor.
In the absence of any abstentions and anybody speaking against, then that recommendation is carried. Councillor Bialik, back to you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Minute 89, Liverpool Exeter Place Board. This is a resolved minute with two further recommendations. One, that we confer the honorary freeman of the city status conferred to Richard Jacobs, and that the Lord Mayor be requested to convene an extraordinary meeting. Lord Mayor, I so move.
Seconder, please, for that.
Formally seconded, Lord Mayor, Councillor Sutton.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. Does anybody wish to speak on this particular recommendation? It's on the screen now.
Lord Mayor, this is what the extraordinary council meeting will be for later on this evening.
Yes.
As well, just to remind members.
Yeah. You will have the opportunity then to hear it again. It will come up at the very end of the meeting. Thank you. Councillor Bialik, back to you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Minute 91, minute 92, which is the Exeter City Group recommendations on governance. This is a resolved minute, Lord Mayor. I therefore move the minutes of this meeting. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bialik. Now turning to page 99.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. These are the minutes of the 6th of October 2020, minute 93, minute 94, minute 95.
95, Chairman, Lord Mayor. I've been blacked out. No, you wouldn't have done that on purpose, would you, Leader? I'm sure you wouldn't have.
Councillor Henson.
I
ask your question.
I would like to ask the Leader is that there's been a lot of changes with the portfolios and the Leader and the
This is
chairman.
96, Lord Mayor.
Pardon?
Councillor Henson.
Lord Mayor, the leader hasn't yet got to minute 96, to which Councillor, the Deputy Lord Mayor, is referring, I believe. You only got to 95, Leader, didn't you?
Councillor
Henson.
Henson.
No, I got to that.
96 is the one you're asking.
No, it isn't. The County Council's annual funding. No, I'm on 95. 95. I'd just like to ask a question.
Deputy Lord Mayor, minute number 95 refers to questions from members of the public. We're now moved on to the meeting of the 6th of October executive.
Yeah, Yolanda, the question you want to ask will come up under 96, but Phil hasn't got there yet. So the leader will, I'll ask the leader to actually make his recommendation. It'll be seconded, and then you may ask the question. So, Phil, can you please go back to 96?
Thank you. Thank you, Lord Mayor. Indeed, Councillor Henson is ahead of her time. Minute 96, changes to executive portfolio holders, portfolios and priorities 2020-2021. And there is a recommendation which is recommends that Councillor Morse be nominated as chair of the planning committee by council. And then obviously there is a resolved minute with regard to the list of portfolio holder and responsibilities, which Councillor Henson wants to ask, and that's perfectly fine by me. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Before we go to the question, we need a seconder. Could we have a seconder, please?
Lord Mayor, it's Councillor Sutton. I'm delighted to second that recommendation that Councillor Moore should be chair of the planning committee.
Okay, right. Thank you for that. Councillor Henson, now is the time to ask the question.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I've scribbled over the number 96, so I thought I was 95. I do apologise. it's just a question. Have we changed the council constitution? Because there is a lot of portfolio changes, like and chairmanships being moved around. Yeah, and to be perfectly honest, I thought that they couldn't take their positions before it had gone through the executive first to be finalised at this council on any movement of chairs and portfolios. It's just a question, Leader.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. To explain, that's exactly what we're doing at this full council meeting. It is a matter for the full council to appoint the chair of the planning committee, and as seconded by Councillor Sutton, I'm hoping that the council will formally appoint Councillor Morse. Previously, due to the absence of Rachel Lyons, Councillor Lyons, as we've been told before, because of her operation and other matters, we had the meeting in the first instance chaired by Councillor Ruth Williams, who was the deputy chair. And then on the second meeting, the deputy chair was on holiday. And so therefore, the planning committee elected a chair to that meeting. And that's when they elected Councillor Morse to that meeting. And she was to chair that meeting and that meeting only. Now, what we are now doing here, following the recommendation from the executive, is to formally appoint her as chair of the planning committee. And if that vote goes through, that is what we do. With regard to the constitution, I always take advice with regard to the constitution and then read it myself. And as far as I'm concerned and being made aware, everything is constitutionally okay. I hope that helps.
By Alex.
Thank you.
Amongst other members, are there any more questions of the leader and this particular recommendation?
None showing, Lord Mayor. None showing, Lord Mayor.
May I ask if there are any objections to this recommendation? Are there any abstentions?
None showing, Lord Mayor.
I've got a hand up from Councillor Diana Moore, John.
Diana Moore, yeah. Councillor Diana Moore is abstaining on that, Lord Mayor.
Okay. Are there any councillors against?
And Councillor Jemima Moore also abstained, Lord Mayor, sorry.
Thank you.
Councillor Mitchell, Lord Mayor. Kevin Mitchell.
Can I just confirm that is that an abstention or a vote? Is that an abstention, Councillor Kevin Mitchell?
Yes, it is, John Street.
So that's three abstentions, Lord Mayor.
4 abstentions. Could you add 9?
4 abstentions, Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, could you tell us the result of that then, please, John?
Well, 4 abstentions, Lord Mayor, none against, and that's clearly carried with the remainder voting in favour.
Thank you. That is carried, Councillor Bialek. Can I ask you to revert back now to...
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. There is, of course, a resolved minute also on that, in which the list of the new portfolio holder responsibilities and priorities have been made. That is being published. And just to comment, I have to say, I couldn't have picked a better team myself. Minute 97, Exeter City Council Annual Infrastructure Funding Statement. There is a recommendation in 3 parts here, Lord Mayor, which I would like to formally move.
Could we have a seconder, please, before we debate?
Seconded, Lord Mayor. Councillor Sutton.
Okay. I believe the recommendations should be on the screen before you. Are there any members who wish to speak on these recommendations? Please show your hands now. may I ask? John, is anybody?
None are indicating, Lord Mayor. Sorry, I was muted.
Okay, in the absence of that, can we have any people who wish to vote against those recommendations?
None showing, Lord Mayor.
Are there any abstentions?
None showing, Lord Mayor.
I confirm that that recommendation then goes forward. It's been approved. Back to Councillor Bialik.
Thank you. 98, the 2021 General Fund Capital Monitoring Statement for the first quarter, Lord Mayor. And there are two recommendations that Council is asked to approve here, Lord Mayor. I'd like to move. Thank you.
I second that, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Jemima Moore has raised her hand on this matter, Lord Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please can I ask, the report says that the carbon impact of each scheme is considered prior to approval. Please can the portfolio holder explain if both the carbon impact of construction and the capital project and the in-use carbon impacts are calculated and how they will be offset as required?
Thank you. Councillor Bialik.
If that's a question, Lord Mayor, of course we will. Councillor Jemima Moore, you'll have to forgive me if I haven't got the exact detail with me here at this particular moment in time. It would always help by way of just saying if members have technical detailed questions of this matter, if we had advanced them, we could give you a technical detailed question and answer back. With regard to the principle, I can assure you, and we're going to come on to that at the end with regard to the vision statement, I can assure you that the net zero, our ambition to be carbon neutral by 2030, is now running through everything that we do, and that is something. We, with regard to the Pince's Gardens gatehouse, we haven't started procure of that. That will be part of the consideration and what we would do. I thought you were going to mention what a great idea this was to actually get this this building back in progress for the people of Westex, because it's much loved and it will be a good addition to that area. That's what I thought you were going to ask me, to be quite honest. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other members wishing to speak on this recommendation?
None showing, Lord Mayor.
Okay, we'll now move. Are there any members who wish to vote against this recommendation? Please show now.
None indicating, Lord Mayor.
Anybody voting against?
I'm not voting for or against, Lord Mayor, but am I the only one who says their video is disabled by the host?
That's Councillor Foles speaking. I think that my whole evening has been spooked by technology. I'm working on Kareem's computer as we speak. I can see a picture of your football team, Bob.
A fine body of men and women, but no, since you came back on air, Lord Mayor, it says that the host is denying me access to video.
We have. I understand that my colleagues have asked people they may need to try and turn their videos on themselves. We have unblocked it from a host point of view.
Now, John.
But
sorted, thank you.
I can see you now, Bob. So we'll leave that. We've done the voting, John. There was nobody voting against, was there?
No, Lord Mayor.
Okay, so that particular recommendation has been supported and passed by members. Back to Councillor Bialik, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Minute 99, overview of the general fund revenue budget for 2021, quarter one. And there are 4 recommendations here, Lord Mayor, as will appear on the screen. And I would like to move at this stage.
May we have a seconder, please?
Formally seconded, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. Open for debate. Are there any members who wish to speak on any of these 4 recommendations on minute 99?
None indicating, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, John. Would anybody like to vote against these 4 recommendations? Please show now.
Nobody indicating, Lord Mayor.
Are there any abstentions on these 4 recommendations? Please show now.
None indicating, Lord Mayor.
From the chair then, this recommendation is passed. Councillor Bialik, back to number 100.
Yes, minute 100, Lord Mayor. 2021 HRA budget monitoring report for the first quarter, and there are 2 recommendations which will appear on the screen in a moment, Lord Mayor. I'd like to formally move.
Seconder, please.
Seconded, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. It is open to members for discussion now. Is there any member who would like, any councillor who would like to speak?
None indicating, Lord Mayor. There are still a number of councillors who are still blacked out on the screen, so whether they could try again to turn their videos back on if possible.
Before we move on, we'll give those councillors the opportunity to come back in.
Yeah, and thank you, Lord Mayor. There's a number have they've got videos running, so carry on if you will, Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. In the absence of anybody voting against, that's from minute 100. Then that recommendation is carried. Councillor Bialik.
Minute 101, governance review update. This is a resolved matter, Lord Mayor. Minute 102, amendments to the scheme of delegation in terms of reference for the licensing subcommittee. And here, Lord Mayor, there are 2 recommendations as such. Thank you, Lord Mayor, and they'll come on the screen.
The seconder, please.
Seconded, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. We open it up for debate now. Does any other councillor wish to speak on these recommendations on 102?
Yeah, we should have looked at that.
Sorry, no one indicating, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, John. We're now going to vote on these 2 recommendations. Is anybody against these recommendations?
No one indicating, Lord Mayor.
Are there any abstentions?
No one indicating, Lord Mayor.
From the chair then, those 2 recommendations are passed. Thank you. Back to Councillor Bialik.
Minute 103, corporate asset maintenance. And there are 3 recommendations here, Lord Mayor. I so move.
We have a seconder for those 3 recommendations, please.
Seconded, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. Open for debate. Are there any councillors who wish to speak on this particular item?
Councillor Diana Moore, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Diana Moore, please, to speak now.
Thank you. I wonder if the leader can clarify for me, please. At the strategic scrutiny meeting in July, the leader of the council outlined plans for feasibility for 283 homes on the site of the Cathedral and Quay and Mary Archer's car parks. Does the portfolio holder or the leader believe that committing significant investment in multi-storey car parks now, which may have to be demolished in a couple of years' time or a few years' time for housing, represents good value for money, or should be decided now, given that the council hasn't seen the outcome of the feasibility studies?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bialik, would you like to take that one or pass it over?
Well, I'd be passing it to myself, Lord Mayor, as the portfolio holder responsible. Lord Mayor, that's an interesting question, and I can understand it. And it's, I'm going to say, a good question. I think you said something like 200 odd houses. I'm not sure that's what we're, or homes, that's what we're actually designing. At the moment, as you know, several months ago, we withdrew the request for nearly 3.9 million, 4 million odd funding to redo that car park and to get it all up to date and turn it into some sort of premium car park. And indeed, at that time, the executive took the view that that should not go forward in that form for some of the reasons, Councillor Moore, that you've actually said. So what we've decided to do is, however, it needs to be repaired or something needs to happen there. Some of us thought it was a good idea that, seeing we have a potential to have our own development company, that we perhaps look at how we could develop that out to bring much needed rented accommodation, rented, not homes for purchase, rented accommodation into our city centre as part of our Liverpool Exeter, what we're trying to do on the Liverpool Exeter project. Now, whereas many of us would like to see cars removed, we don't believe that's going to happen overnight. Will there be a need for some sort of parking provision, whether it's a provision for electric cars, hybrid cars, or whatever the mode of transport is beyond 2030? There is a view that there will be a need for some sort of provision. And so at the moment, we're still in that early stages. There'll still be a discussion. And it would be my intention that when we get nearer to getting plans being brought forward, and it's not as easy as just the back of the fag packet view of things nowadays, is that it would be a matter that I would like to see ECL bring forward, if at all possible. I think it's quite virtuous, but it would be something that I would want to, share with the planning member working group and also with all member briefing, because I think it's very, very important. Our ambition is to bring rented homes into Exeter, and we thought that could be a potential ideal place. So it's still in its formative stages. There's a number of issues that we need to balance, and we have to balance those, taking lots of views, and that's what we intend to do. I hope that is a genuine and serious response, Councillor Moore, to what I call is a very good question on really, because this is not just on that site, it is how we are going to design out Exeter with our livable Exeter ambitions to deliver homes for people into Exeter, rented homes, and what we try to do. So there is the intention to try to do the best we can for people in Exeter. I hope that goes some way to answer that question at the moment. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bialik. Are there any other members who wish to speak at this time?
Councillor Jemima Moore, Lord Mayor. Councillor
Jemima Moore.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm pleased to see this move away from the previous policy of only repairing property when it fails. Will our 2030 carbon neutral commitment also be at the heart of these repairs? Will the carbon impact of each project and its ongoing use be assessed and, where possible, minimised? Also, will opportunities for energy generation such as solar or hydropower be assessed?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Again, it seems that as we get towards the end of the meeting, we get the better questions. And this is, again, another very good question. This is about the future and also what we'll be talking about at the end with our regard to our corporate vision and where we go to go. Of course, we want that to run through everything that we do. Of course we do, and we'd be silly not to. Now, a definition of level B on all our property being satisfactory and performing. So as you can imagine, somebody like myself, when you were presented at the early stages of £37.5 million to correct our assets, I can't quite say what I thought at the time. I did ask the question of Michael Carson, at what stage of our history with regard to these properties were we ever at level B? And he said never. So what we're trying to do after years of austerity and a view had to be taken 10 years ago, we're in a different place from 10 years, we're in a different place from 6 months ago. A different view on how we had to deal with our budgets then, because as you know, we are the only government organisations which have to balance our books at the end of the year. We cannot have no run over. So I can understand those decisions into cut back on maintenance. I've made it clear we cannot go on like that. We will not go on like that, and I must make provision. But in making that provision, you are quite right, Councillor Moore, that I'd be daft if we never saw 2030 around the corner. So it is a big challenge. It is a big challenge for us on what we're trying to do. But I can tell you, we are committed to looking at all of that. We want Exeter to be a sustainable, carbon neutral city by 2030. And with very little finance, I believe we are working reasonably well on that goal.
Thank you, Councillor Bialik. We've had 2 questions. Are there any further questions on this particular recommendation from members? Please indicate now.
None indicated, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, John. We'll now go to the vote. Any members who wish to vote against these recommendations, please show now.
None indicating, Lord Mayor.
Are there any abstentions to be recorded?
So we've got Councillor Jemima Moore, Councillor Diana Moore, and Councillor Michael Mitchell abstaining, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. And that will give us a result of...
And sorry, Councillor Kevin Mitchell as well. So that's no votes against, 4 abstentions, remainder in favour. So it's clearly carried, Lord Mayor.
Recommendations 1, 2 and 3 are carried. Back to Councillor Bialik, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Minute 104, Exeter Chiefs. Minute 105, local government access. That's a resolved matter. Minute 106, Lord Mayor. Support for district heating network to serve the Alphington strategic allocation and Southwest Exeter. Lord Mayor, there are 3 recommendations here that I would like to move.
May we have a seconder, please?
Delighted to second that, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. Open it up for debate now. Are there any members who wish to speak?
Lord Mayor, just to remind, if we are going to go into any of the business case on financial matters, it's a part 2, and we would have to move the part 2 clause and move into that part of the council meeting, Lord Mayor. But if it's a general one, then that would be fine.
Councillor Bialik, you did tell me earlier, as did John. It is on my notes. But let's see if there's anybody who wishes to speak at this time. Any councillors?
We have 3 councillors wishing to speak with that caveat, Lord Mayor, please. So Councillor Atkinson first, then Councillor Diana Moore, then Councillor Jemima Moore.
Right, we'll start with, please again remember that if these are business-related questions, which could compromise our council, we will have to move into part 2. So please frame your questions very carefully. Councillor Atkinson first.
Oh, thank you, Lord Mayor. It's not so much a question, really. I just want to say how pleased I am that this recommendation is coming before the council today, because it shows our commitment to obtaining net zero carbon for new developments in Exeter, even where they're private developments. And this goes some way towards helping that to be achieved in Alphington, in the new developments there, the 500 houses there, where they can access if they can access a district heating scheme that will not only lower the carbon emissions from those developments, but improve air quality. And I just want to recommend those to everybody here and say, well done, Exeter. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Diana Moore.
Thank you. So I think there's a number of questions that arise from this proposal. I wonder if the leader can clarify what fuel will be used as for the backup heating system that's mentioned in the proposal, and will there be a guarantee that there is going to be a connection before the council proceeds? So that's a point of principle. And I would also, two more questions. What alternatives will be explored at the end of the contract for the incinerator to ensure that the district heating isn't locked into incineration, which, whilst it's better than landfill, is the largest single emitter of CO2 in the city? And can you confirm that there will not be a contract put in place to guarantee the supply of waste to be burned in order to ensure sufficient heat to the district heating system? Thank you.
Councillor Bialik, would you like to respond now, or are they technical questions you need to reflect on and come back in writing?
Well, I think we need to reflect on those, Lord Mayor. At the end of the day, these are detailed questions which could have been given an answer to this evening if we had prior notice to them, and that's a shame. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bialik. Councillor Diana Moore, you've heard the leader. He will respond to you in due course in writing to the very important issues that you raised. Councillor Jemima Moore.
Councillor Jemima Moore indicated she does not wish to speak, Lord Mayor.
All right. I'm
Lord
sorry,
Mayor,
I got that
Lord
wrong.
Mayor, Lord Mayor, I would want to do absolute justice to the question from Councillor Moore. Please forgive me, my shorthand is not as good as it was, or it never was. If she could email me those questions, I will make sure, as I have done in the past, that she gets a detailed response to those questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that reassurance, Leader. Any other members wish to speak at this time?
No one else indicating, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Right, we have, as you saw, 3 recommendations on minute 106. Are there any people voting against these recommendations? Please show now.
None indicating, Lord Mayor.
Are there any abstentions?
Two indicating, Lord Mayor, Councillors Diana Moore and Jemima Moore. Sorry, 3, Lord Mayor, Councillor Michael Mitchell as well. So 3 abstentions, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Kevin Mitchell as well, John, sorry.
Thank you. So no against, Lord Mayor, 4 abstentions. The remainder should to be carried in favour. Therefore, the recommendations are carried, Lord Mayor.
Thank you.
Those are the minutes, Lord Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leader. Right, thank you, members. That brings us to item number 13 on the agenda, which relates to notices of motions from members in accordance with Standing Order 6. I can confirm that a notice of motion has been received from Councillor Diana Moore, the details of which are set out on your agenda papers. However, at this time, I'm going to move that we have a 5-minute comfort break because I believe that this may open up a debate and it may go on a little bit longer than I would have thought. I'm just double guessing. If we can come back at 5 minutes time, which will bring us to 5 to 8 by my watch, can I ask members at this time to ensure that you've muted your microphones, most of you have anyway, and you switch off your video, bearing in mind that this meeting is going out to the members of the public. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for your time. I'll see you back here in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. We're now back on to agenda item number 14, 13 even. And can I call upon Councillor Diana Moore to read your notice of motion? You may not want to read it all the way through, or you may wish to. I can see it's going to come up on screen very shortly. Councillor Diana Moore.
Thank you. I would like to propose the motion making votes matter in local elections on the introduction of proportional representation for local elections. And I reserve my right to speak to introduce the motion. Do you want me to read the whole motion out?
If it can be put up, I mean, it's entirely up to you. If it can be put up on screen, I'm happy and relaxed about that. If you would like to read it, then you can. But I think, first of all, we need a seconder. Have a seconder, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. This is Councillor Kevin Mitchell. I would like to second this motion and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Councillor Diana Moore, it's entirely up to you. You can read the 5 bullet points you have there, or we may call them up on screen. It will be your call.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind showing them, I won't read them out because I will assume that my fellow councillors will have read the motion. And I will speak to the motion if that's okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you. So I am acutely aware of the timing of this motion when all efforts are focused on addressing the coronavirus pandemic. It might be helpful for members to know that we first submitted this motion earlier in the year for the April Council, but I withdrew it because of the pandemic and the focus that we needed to have. So we are presenting this motion back to Council now only because of the talk from government of its plans to introduce a bill on further devolution and reorganisation of local government. We do not know the details of the forthcoming proposals. The messages from Whitehall are suggesting larger local authorities covering a wider area. So now is a crucial moment to explain the importance to government that votes should match seats, and a fairer voting system will enable people to feel every vote matters and they can have a greater connection to those who represent them. It is clear, without the support of Labour councillors here and those nationally, electoral reform will never happen. And I do welcome the growing campaign for electoral reform in the Labour Party. Electoral reform is not only in the interests of fairness, but also in the furthering of a progressive agenda to which the majority inside this chamber subscribe, and for encouraging political participation. At least 80% of the 35 OECD nations use some sort of PR, and this percentage is growing over time as countries become more democratic. Countries with PR elections have shown they enjoy a higher turnout in elections, have lower income inequality, higher social expenditure, fairer distribution of public goods, more effective action on climate change, better long-term decision-making, stronger gender and Black, Asian and minority ethnic representation in politics, and show improved satisfaction with governance and democratic institutions. Whoever is in power under such a system. A study by Harvard and the London School of Economics has shown that the proportional democracies tend to have progressive governments 3/4 of the time, while in majoritarian systems, it's the other way around. At a national level, this fits the UK experience. Most people have voted for parties to the left of the Conservatives in 14 of the last 17 general elections, and yet this time. Of course, I vote for Labour as the ruling party. Backing PR is a courageous move. In May 2019, Labour won 19 of 14 seats in the council elections, based on just over a third of the vote to the city. Meanwhile, the parties and individuals within the Progressive group received 3 seats based on slightly under a third of the city's vote. Clearly, this is not an accurate reflection of the way people in Exeter vote. PR has a strong backing not only amongst Labour members, but also amongst Labour voters. Polling has shown that at least 3/4 of Labour voters want the party to commit to PR, and with just 5% opposed. And 54 constituency Labour parties have already passed motions backing PR. So I urge members from all parties tonight to support reform of our electoral system so that all votes matter and all votes count, and let the government know now that in any measures to reorganise local government, now is the time to introduce a fairer voting system. Let's demonstrate to the people of Exeter we want an electoral system for the many, not for the few. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Diana Moore. Councillor Kevin Mitchell, would you like to speak now or later?
I'm happy to speak later, or I can speak now if there's no other contributions.
There will be two other speakers. I do believe that the leader of the council, Councillor Bialik, will be speaking, and also Councillor Andrew Ledbetter.
Councillor Bialik has indicated his intention to speak, Lord Mayor. So,
yeah, he did say earlier. Right, can we see if there's anybody else? Because Councillor Mitchell wishes to go afterwards. So, are there anybody else?
Councillor Bialik, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Bialik, then.
And then Councillor Ledbetter, Lord Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I can say at this moment that the Exeter Labour Group will not be supporting this notice of motion. It was quite interesting to listen to exactly what is going on from Councillor Moore in the Labour Party at this moment in time. And that is exactly what is going on, a debate. And that debate will come to a conclusion, unfortunately, in 4 years' time, because that is how long we all have to wait until there is a next general election and until we get the opportunity to vote for a Labour government led by Keir Starmer in order to bring real change into this country. So it's not appropriate for my group at this moment to take a position and to put the council in a position, because there are some things within this motion that we would never agree with, and there may be some things that my party may wish to support at a later date. We will consult, we will discuss, and we will take things forward in due course. As for us potentially resolving to call upon Her Majesty's government to commit to change, I don't think we'll get that at all. There's little point in doing it at this moment in time. And whereas little point in writing to the MPs either, because this is not going to become before Parliament. So, Lord Mayor, I have to say to Councillor Moore that we will not be in a position to be able to support this notice of motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bialik. Councillor Andrew Ledbetter to speak now, please.
Lord Mayor, thank you. I have to say the same as Councillor Bialik. The Conservative group can't support this motion. It's not part of Conservative Party policy to support PR, so we're certainly not going to start that movement down in Exeter. So I say we can't support it. I mean, this was put to the country 9 years ago. Okay, it wasn't totally PR, but it was certainly an alternative form of voting. And at that time, 2/3 of this country decided that they were very happy with the current system. Now, I know that was a few years ago, but it was tested at a referendum. As I say, we can't support this at the moment. And my only comment about PR, although Councillor Moore talked about stable governments, actually you find with a lot of PR that they're unable to form a government. There's a lot of squabbling. In fact, some countries in Europe have gone for many months, if not years, without a government because of the PR system. I think Belgium comes to mind. So I don't think it always provides stable governments. But anyway, we're unable to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ledbetter. Apart from Councillor Mitchell, Kevin Mitchell, that is there anybody else wishing to speak? John?
No one indicating, Lord Mayor.
Okay. What will happen now is Councillor Kevin Mitchell will speak, and then we'll move to summarise what's been discussed by Councillor Diana Moore if she wishes to do so. Councillor Kevin Mitchell.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm very pleased that this has come to this council tonight for discussion. I've long been an advocate of proportional representation at all levels of government, national government and local government as well. And the rationale and the reasoning for that is that I believe that it's far fairer than the current electoral system, and will enable people to have an equal say and an equal vote across the whole country and not just in certain areas. It also, in my view, would improve local links, and it's also been proven where there are systems in place that it does develop greater diversity as well in terms of the individuals that are elected to those chambers or councils or assemblies. So I'm very much in favour of this motion. I listened very carefully to the previous contributions, and like the leader has stated, obviously we're all very interested in the debate that is occurring within the Labour Party, for the reasons that Councillor Diana Moore stated previously, because the only way that we are going to change the system, we recognise, is that we need as many political parties as possible on board to change it. And, you know, I've received many letters over the years from the MP for Exeter, Ben Bradshaw, usually during general elections, promoting his support for PR and trying to encourage me as a Liberal Democrat to vote tactically for him because of his beliefs in that. So we definitely have a massive advocate for proportional representation as our MP, and obviously he has signed up to the Good Systems Agreement as part of the Make Votes Matter, which is an all-party group, and he's very vocal and signed up to that. So I would hope that the debate does continue, as the leader has stated, within the Labour Party, and they do come on board. I'm saddened that we don't have the support of the members tonight, but the fight will continue, I can guarantee it, so that we can have a fairer system and therefore a fairer country. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kevin Mitchell. And finally then, on this particular motion, Councillor Diana Moore, would you like to wrap up for us, please?
Thank you. I'd like to respond to Councillor Ledbetter's point. Thank you for raising the issue of the previous referendum. The referendum was not on proportional representation. The alternative vote system was put forward as an alternative to first past the post, but that wasn't a system of proportional representation. And one of the things I think we have all learnt in recent years, that a referendum is perhaps not the best way to decide on which voting system to use. And I would welcome the opportunity for a citizens' assembly to have a deliberative process to actually develop and inform our reform to our electoral system. Thank you, Councillor Bialik, for your responses too. And I would like to invite any Labour colleagues who did not have an opportunity to speak up to work across party lines so that we can campaign together on bringing forward this issue, because I know that there will be a range of views within this council, and I think that by working together we will be able to bring the change that we want to see. And I would just extend my congratulations to Jacinda Ardern, who has won an overwhelming victory in New Zealand for the Labour Party using a proportional system. So hopefully that will give you some hope. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Moore. I will reverse the process we've been doing on this particular occasion and this particular motion, and ask for all those people who wish to vote for and support this motion. Please show now.
That's 4, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Could we now have a show for any abstentions?
None indicating, Lord Mayor.
With those figures then, I declare that this notice of motion has been lost and will not be carried forward. The next item on the agenda, number 14, the Corporate Plan Autumn Update 2020. You will have seen included in the agenda the report of the Chief Executive and Growth Director with a recommendation to the Council. Members, you're invited to debate the matter before we vote on the recommendations.
Would you like me to move it first, Lord Mayor?
Sorry, I've gone one step ahead. Councillor Bialik.
Well, yes, just to comment, Lord Mayor, I was pleased that the leader of the Conservative Party agreed with me with regard to Keir Starmer being the next Prime Minister of this country. Moving on to the recommendations, Lord Mayor, I don't remember,
point of order, I don't remember doing that, Councillor Bialik.
In my world, you did, Andrew. Moving on, you see there's two recommendations here, Lord Mayor, and they are very serious. And I know we're coming once again to the end of the evening and we're having to deal with very important matters. We decided to bring this straight to the council, which is the vision, because we felt it was very, very important. And that was demonstrated by the questions that we've actually received, one from Marilyn Spur, and indeed a further question from Councillor Diana Moore, and also some of the questions understandably put by Councillor Jemima Moore with regard to our carbon neutral and what we want to deliver as a city. And so what we wanted to do was to update our corporate vision exactly with the fact that we want the net zero carbon to go through everything that we're doing within the Exeter city. So that is delivering the net zero agenda, promoting active and healthy lifestyles, building back great neighbourhoods, providing value for money services, and I'm bound to say, leading a well-run council. So this report, Lord Mayor, in detail updates ours. It recognises the serious financial challenge we now have over the next 3 years. And my portfolio holders know that, and they will say, oh, here he goes again, because their challenge over the next 3 years is to bring back where we can look at either increasing revenue or indeed managing our finances, which will reduce our costs by something like £6 million over a 3-year period. That's just short of 30% of our budget, Lord Mayor. It also appreciates that the response to the COVID-19 pandemic has placed an unprecedented pressure on our finances and resources in all areas of the council. It acknowledges that the council will need to focus on its stated priorities and allocate reduced resources to those priorities. And as I've said, we have said that the 2030 is a priority for us. We want to commit to support officers in their focus on the priorities without being distracted by additional or non-critical issues. Lord Mayor, this document, which is a detailed document, and we could spend a lot of time, I do hope that people have read it. I do hope that people may want to talk to myself, the portfolio holders and the officers about our vision going forward. It is so, so important. And when you look at the page which shows you the picture of the crane, I'm going to say it, and the leisure centre, which is being built, that leisure centre is coming out the ground. It will be testimony to the commitment of this ruling party to bring about a passive house construction, which will bring a facility into this city, which will be the best in the country for carbon neutral and passive house. It is going to be fantastic, Lord Mayor. And I believe, Lord Mayor, I know you can't be political, you yourself now, I think, get the programme, so to speak, from what you originally said a few years ago, and understandable. So these are all our priorities. I can assure people I won't spend no more time on it. Happy to take any questions with regard to the report. There's a lot of information. We have to move forward as a city. We have to engage. If we are to maintain and sustain ourselves going forward, we need a vision and a corporate plan like this. It is our intention that we keep Exeter in the centre focus, that we give good homes to people in Exeter, which is their right in my view, and they should demand it. We also want to provide skills for our young people and to retain those young people within our housing, that in our area. They will need homes. They will need homes and they will need jobs that go with it, Lord Mayor. And this strategy, in my view, is just part and parcel of taking us through the next vision to 2040, hopefully to 2030 and beyond. I would certainly recommend this report and the updated report to all our members, Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. As with all recommendations, may we have a seconder, please?
Yes, Lord Mayor, I'm happy to second this. I would like to speak to it as well, but I'll join the debate later if I may.
Yes, thank you. I've made a note of your name. Are there any councillors who wish to now open the debate and discuss this recommendation? John, anyone?
No one indicating, Lord Mayor. Oh, Councillor Diana Moore is now asked to, sorry.
Well, we did have Councillor Sutton first of all. She did indicate she would be speaking for it.
But Councillor Sutton was the seconder of it, Lord Mayor, of the motion, Lord Mayor, so
okay.
She'll come back near the end. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Okay, I didn't wish to be disrespectful. Councillor Diana Moore.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I welcome the commitment to net zero carbon throughout the report, and I have two questions to ask about other aspects of the report, of the plan, one of which is to build housing for market rent. I previously asked about this, about the evidence base for this, and I wonder if you can explain that evidence base, because and how we will achieve the affordable housing needs that we have within the city. The second question I have is around stakeholders, and it is absolutely crucial that the council works with others to achieve its goals. And I would like to hear more from you, Leader, about what your expectations are of communities as a stakeholder and what role they will have in shaping the plans that will be coming forward for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Bialik, would you like to answer that now or at the very end when you summarise?
I'll summarise at the end, but I will answer those questions. Thank you at the end, Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. The next speaker, John?
We have Councillor Laura Wright next, Lord Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Laura Wright, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yes, I just want to say how much I welcome this document that very succinctly sets out a vision which is still very ambitious but achievable. And I think at the moment we're in such a state of knowing that we have to save money, knowing that we have to make cuts, knowing that we are about to go into a pretty bad time economically. But I'm just really proud to be part of this council that despite all of that is finding it every way they can to continue with good works that they've started, but also to really focus on housing, which as the leader said, you know, everybody needs housing. We know that there's a housing need. I'd like to just, if I may, chip into the answer for Councillor Diana Moore about how are we assessing that need.
Please do.
Thank you. There will be a all councillor briefing very soon, Councillor Moore, because the Exeter City Council Housing have commissioned a housing needs survey, and the results of that are now out and are being analysed in order to really push forward with what direction we're going to go in for our council housing, but also other housing priorities across the city. And some of the results have been quite surprising to me. They're not quite as I assumed, which has really given us a different focus within the housing, our own council housing department, and may also as well with our Exeter City Living company. So there is definitely a need for secure, good rented housing. There's definitely a need for social housing, which there always is and always will be, and other types of housing and development. And for us to be making a commitment to make sure that we as a council build to a really, really high standard of to get towards our zero carbon target of 2030 is definitely not just an aspiration. We're halfway through, and we're going to continue that way with our retrofit programme and also all our new builds. So it's something I'm incredibly proud of, and that I hope that you, Councillor Moore, as a Green councillor, will be behind us on that. Thank you. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. John, do we have
Councillor
any other
Ledbetter.
speakers?
Councillor Ledbetter.
Councillor
Lord
Andrew
Mayor.
Ledbetter, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I think on the face of it, I ought to be careful what I say, because I know Councillor Bialik is very good at tying me up in knots if I say something out of place. But I don't think there's anything in this I can particularly disagree with. Exeter is a great place to live. I'm as you know, the carbon stuff, I'm a bit of a dinosaur, but I suspect I'm on the wrong side of history on that. But with that exception, I know we have to do things. If I can just talk particularly about one thing that has caught my interest, and that is the priority about promoting active and healthy lifestyles. And I particularly want to talk to that because it does talk about Topsham in that. And I think I might be possibly one of the only councillors who lives in Topsham. I'm delighted to see that I've got another good 50 years of life left, because it says people in residence in Topsham live to 86. So I work out there's about another 50 years left. Is Councillor Bartlett grinning at that or not? Maybe not. But anyway, I absolutely recognise that. I think it is a great aspiration about physical activity and healthiness, and I want to work as hard as I can with the council to make the gap small across this city. So I really welcome these and the plans, and I say I'd like to really associate myself with working to iron out this inequality across Exeter. I think some very good words in there, and let's all work towards it. But that's just one bit I wanted to pull out, especially with my hat on at Devon as the Health and Wellbeing Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ledbetter. John, are there any more speakers?
Councillor Atkinson, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Atkinson, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I just wanted to respond to Councillor Diana Moore. I mean, there's been a trend, a UK trend in the private rented sector, which has been going on for the last 20 years. So I do wonder where she may have been, and what we've seen here in Exeter and across the southwest and nationally is that people's attitudes towards renting have changed, coupled with affordability, but also private rented is now a lifestyle choice for many thousands of young people who want the flexibility to go where the work is. So I think there is ample evidence out there, and I'm sure when the implementation plan comes forward that some of this detail will be gone into these days going forward. But I am so pleased to be living in a city which has the foresight which this council has to cater for all needs. Those that need social housing by retaining council house stock, building new council houses to passive house standings, looking at co-living, making sure that students are accommodated in student accommodation specifically for that purpose, and that people can also rent from good landlords going forward, such as under developments which this council will be providing and hopefully provide for key workers, because they have been part of a problem. I've been working in social housing for the last 20 years, and the needs of key workers have often been overlooked, and private rented does, affordable private rented does fill that need as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Atkinson.
Councillor
John.
Wood, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It's been a very long meeting, but I think I can just about remember the start of it when there was a question from a member of the public about how we prioritise delivering net zero Exeter 2030. It's the first priority in the bullet list here, closely followed by promoting active, healthy lifestyles and building great neighbourhoods. And I think those two items indicate how we will be looking to engage with the communities, as Councillor Diana Moore mentioned. So I just wanted to highlight how that relates to the first question way back at the start of this meeting. It is a top priority.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. John, anybody else before we move to the leader and deputy leader?
No one else indicating at the moment, Lord Mayor, so it'd be Councillor Sutton next, I believe.
Councillor Sutton, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yes, I'm supporting this. You won't be surprised to know, and agree with the comments that the leader made when he introduced this. If I could just first of all address my remarks to Councillor Ledbetter, and I do say this in some seriousness, that you know, active and healthy lifestyles are good for everybody, and you know, there are things you can probably do living in Topsham, you know, that would get you another 60 years, never mind another 50. It's a fairly easy bike ride from Topsham to both County Hall and into the city centre, particularly if you get an electric bike rather than one of several motor vehicles, and they can be purchased on the Cycle to Work scheme. So,
well, point of order, Lord Mayor. Point of order. I already have a bicycle, thank you, which I did purchase on the cycle scheme, and I do sometimes cycle to County Hall. Yeah, but
right. Well, look forward to seeing it. I look forward to seeing it parked outside the City Council as well. But seriously, we do all need to take responsibility for our own health and well-being, particularly in the current times, where anything we can do to keep ourselves out of hospital and out of our GP's surgery to make more space for people who really do need it. But the main thing on this, and again, it touches on a number of issues that we've discussed this evening, is the first bullet point around delivering net zero Exeter 2030. As has already been said, this is front and centre of our plans, and we've always been an ambitious council under the Labour leadership, because we know that you can't just stay still. If you stay still, everybody else overtakes you, and there will be many district councils of the size and scale of Exeter who really will be retrenching now because of the challenges, the financial challenges of COVID, and the impact on their businesses. But we aren't one of those cities. We never have been, and we're not about to start being one of those cities now. We are going to have a world-class leisure centre, and it's a great photo of the crane and the leisure centre, but anyone who's been into the city recently will know that it looks a great deal more developed now than it does in that photo. You can pretty well see the finished building now, and this is going to be the most incredible leisure centre. It'll be the first passive house swimming pools in this country, and I think we're justifiably proud of that. Councillor Wright has already talked about the council house building programme, and again, we are among the leaders in delivering passive house council houses, and now with the planned retrofit project for our existing housing stock, again it puts us right up there with the most ambitious and forward-looking councils. And on the delivering the net zero Exeter by 2030, what we need to realise is there are a great many councils that have declared a climate emergency, but there aren't many councils that have actually set out roadmaps and really deliverable, practical plans about how they're going to get there. And again, Exeter is one of those councils. So I'm incredibly proud of that. I won't go on at any more length because a number of the other points around neighbourhoods and council housing have already been mentioned by colleagues, but I would commend this to the council, and I just think it would be great if everybody supported this, because whatever your party political views, this is about our city, and we all care about this city. We all want the best for this city and for the people that we represent. So I would encourage everybody to vote this. Let's make this a cross-party document that we can all go forward to deliver over the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. Councillor Bialik, will you be now answering those questions?
I will, Lord Mayor, and I will sum up,
you.
hopefully briefly.
So we'll do that. To you.
In response to those questions from Councillor Moore, the housing needs assessment, I think, has been answered by Councillor Wright, and we will be bringing that forward. Although I would say I've got my own ear to the ground, and I've got my own feedback on the housing need assessment. And I've got two very angry young daughters who want decent housing in this city. And they want to stay here, they want to live here, they want to bring their children up here, and they want some decent housing. So I can assure you, my ear is open to all of that. And I do know that all councillors, regardless of party, also have their ear to their communities and listening to what they want. And so we will be engaging stakeholders, but I want it clearly understood that isn't, the question won't be, shall we or shan't we? The question is, we have put livable Exeter through the council. We need to deliver over, well, under the government white paper, they're saying something like 12,700 houses. Homes. We have a plan for 12,000. We're prepared to match and to meet what this government wants. But in doing so, we are clear we want the infrastructure that goes with it, the employment that goes with those homes, obviously the carbon, what we need to do. Now, Councillor Moore, Diana Moore, can you remember we had a conversation on the 20th of September 2019 at the global strike for climate change? And you quite rightly, and you've continued to do so ever since, by the way, and it's okay, to metaphorically poke me and prod me, which is your role, I get that, and as leader I have to take it and deal with it. When you said, I want you to commit for all council buildings of homes to be passive house or carbon neutral, I couldn't give you a straight answer at that time. I could have said yes, I could have just tried to pacify you. But I'm hoping now that you'll be able to say, well, actually, my words might have resonated with Phil, that they were already on that journey, because all of our council own build is to the passive house standard. All of what we want to do with our development company, Exeter City Living, is to passive house or equivalent standard. So I'd like to think that that question you asked me that year or so ago, we've begun as a group to deliver on that. So it's very important. Councillor Sutton has summed up where we are. And Lord Mayor, I know it's 8:35, but do you know what? This is one of the most important debates we should be having within this council. This is the most important debate to discuss with us how. Now, we're on our journey. How are you going to get there? What I would like to hear from the is we're going to help you, Phil, to get there. We understand from central government your funding is being reduced. You've got further reductions in funding coming from the top. You have to do stuff. We want to work with you. We want to understand what the challenges are. And I think you'll find we will. Councillor Atkinson was right in what she's saying and what we're doing, what young people want in this city. And I'm just saying that we have a passion. We have a passion as a party to provide homes for our children, for people in Exeter, good jobs, quality jobs, good living, a good transport infrastructure. And you're right to keep challenging me to say, what are you doing with the county? I can tell you, we are talking to them at that level to try to bring stuff about. And I'm pleased, Andrew, that you're committed also to improve the quality of life in Exeter through your provisions. And well, do I want to tie you up for 50 years? Well, perhaps I would like to tie you up for 50 years, Andrew, but that's another issue. So what I'm trying to say is we do have a passion. All the portfolio holders know that is Councillor Sutton's job, to demand the portfolios, and when they're bringing stuff, just like Councillor Moore was asking questions about what we're doing, that is Councillor Sutton's job to interrogate, to make sure, to see what we can. But I have to tell you, we have no magic wand, okay? We cannot produce stuff out of thin air. You know, there are things, and so if we can't focus on that, you know, if we're distracted, as I said earlier, we won't have time to do anything. Resources are limited. I think we're doing a reasonable job. I'm bound to say it. Can I say, Lord Mayor, I hope, and the final thing about engaging communities, I think I've tried to answer that, Diana, but it won't be on the basis of shall we or shan't we. We have to do this, and we will engage through all the processes we've got and where we can. So, Lord Mayor, I would certainly recommend these recommendations and this report to the council. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bialik. And thank you, members. I ask for any members who want to vote against this recommendation first, and then those who may wish to abstain. Are there any members who wish to vote against these two recommendations we've just debated? Please show now.
There are none indicating, Lord Mayor.
Are there any abstentions for the two recommendations before you? Please show now.
I'm seeing two, Lord Mayor, two abstentions.
Okay. Well, with that in mind, it's a clear majority for the two recommendations, and I say that they've been approved. Thank you, Councillor Bialik.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
The next item on the agenda is number 14, and the postponement of the 2020 annual general meeting. Members may recall that the local authorities and police crime panels, coronavirus, flexibility of local authority and police and crime panel meetings, England and Wales, regulations 2020, allowed, amongst other things, for the postponement of council's annual general meetings, and for any existing appointments to continue until such time as a rescheduled AGM takes place, or until the AGM in 2021. At the council meeting in April, it was agreed that the AGM be postponed until at least December 2020, and that all appointments should continue until that time. I can confirm that following conversations with the three group leaders, a further delay of the AGM and current appointments will now continue until May 2021. So may I formally set out that in accordance with Part 2, Regulation 4, brackets 2, of the Local Authorities and Police Crime Panels, Coronavirus, Flexibility of Local Authority and Police and Crime Panel Meetings, England and Wales, Regulations 2020, and the following recommendations that, I do believe they're on screen, but for completeness, I'll read them anyway. The annual general meeting originally scheduled for the 19th of May 2020, which had previously been postponed until at least December 2020, be now further delayed until May 2021, subject to the necessary government guidance being received before that time, that is appropriate to hold such a meeting, and As a consequence of the delay of the annual general meeting, in recommendation 1, all current appointments for Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor, committee chairs and deputy chairs continue until the AGM meeting identified in recommendation 1 takes place. Is there someone prepared to move these recommendations?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'll move, and in moving so, I think you've summed it up. And just to explain, as a group, we decided not to take the powers which was allowed to us under the law, which we just could have carried on and suspended the AGM without reference to council. I was keen that it came to council in order to have that, what I regard as the affirmation of council in what we're doing. We know of a situation that we all know that some of the restrictions upon our lives for justifiable reasons are now going to be with us until at least mid-March. And so therefore, in discussion, as the Lord Mayor said, we thought it was appropriate that we basically reset the clock and have a AGM in May of next year to be compliant with the law. And so we are constitutional, we are sitting within the law, Lord Mayor, and so I would move. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder for that recommendation?
Seconded, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. Are there any members who would like to speak on this particular recommendation or these two recommendations? John?
Councillor Ledbetter, Lord Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Ledbetter.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just to say, completely support this. I think it's a very sensible course of action, and I thank the leader for bringing it to full council. I think that's very fair. You have discussed it with us. I also thank you, Lord Mayor, for agreeing to do another 6 months. I'm not sure if this is the first time in history we've had well, there probably are other occasions over the years, but I'm not sure that when the last time was we had a Lord Mayor for 2 years. So thank you for continuing, Peter.
Thank you, Councillor Ledbetter. John, are there any other speakers?
No one else is indicating, Lord Mayor, no.
Right. May I ask now if there are any members who wish to vote against these recommendations? Please show now.
There's no one indicating, Lord Mayor.
Are there any abstentions?
No one indicating, Lord Mayor.
I can confirm that these recommendations have been approved and passed. Thank you, members, for that. And that brings us now then to the last item on the agenda of this meeting, item 16, which relates to questions from members in accordance with Standing Order 8. Questions from Councillor Diana Moore, Councillor Michael Mitchell have been received, and you will have been emailed a copy of those questions separately yesterday. The question and answer should be given without debate. Councillor Moore and Councillor Mitchell are each entitled to a supplementary question, again, which should be put and answered without debate. Councillor Diana Moore, please can you put your question now?
Thank you. Can you put it up on the screen, please? Thank you. The University of Exeter Centre for Energy and Environment has calculated baseline terrestrial greenhouse gas emissions figures for the county's district and unitary authorities, including Exeter, on behalf of the Devon Climate Emergency Response Group, of which Exeter City Council is a founder member. Does Exeter City Council accept these calculations as the baseline greenhouse gas emissions for the city and the basis for assessing the impact of proposed carbon reduction measures contained in the Net Zero Exeter 2030 plan? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Moore. An answer will be given by Councillor Sutton, the Deputy Leader and Portfolio Holder for Net Zero Exeter 2030. Councillor Sutton.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you for the question, Councillor Moore. The figures compiled by the Centre for Energy and Environment at the University of Exeter calculate the organisational greenhouse gas footprint in metric tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalent. And just to clarify, they are for the City Council, and they can therefore only be used as a baseline for assessing the impact of carbon reduction measures for the City Council itself, and not for the city as a whole. The Net Zero Exeter plan is a citywide plan. So I hope that answers your question.
Councillor Diana Moore, do you have a supplementary question for the Deputy Leader?
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. I think it would be very helpful if these figures are then for the City Council. I would like to invite you to have a conversation with me about how these figures could be used to set a carbon budget for the City Council, to help implement carbon reductions that we are going to need to 2030. Please.
Councillor Sutton, is that something that you would like to take advantage of?
Well, we are making those plans, but I'm happy to have a conversation with you as those plans develop.
So we'll do that outside of this meeting. Thank you for that offer. Councillor Mitchell, can you please put your question now?
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. If it could be on the screen as well, it would be helpful. In the light of the public's interest and concerns regarding elements of the current government's proposals for reforms to the planning system, will the Leader of the Council agree to publish on the Council's website Exeter City Council's response to the public consultation, which closes on the 29th of October 2020?
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Councillor Bialik to respond to this one, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. As Councillor Mitchell will be aware, the Planning Member Working Group has had a meeting already with the officers in which much feedback from councillors were taken on board, and there was considerable debate and discussion about it. So we have had full consultation with members within that planning group. The council will be releasing a media statement once Exeter City Council's response has been agreed with Councillor Emma Morse, the portfolio holder for city development, and submitted to government by the 29th of October at the latest. The media statement will include a website link to the full City Council consultation response.
Thank you, Councillor Bialik. Councillor Michael Mitchell, do you have a supplementary question around anything that the Leader has said?
I think we actually got a yes at the end. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to a conclusion for the end of the first meeting today. I thank you for your patience and attention, everybody. And it now brings us on to the extraordinary meeting of the Council. The only item on the agenda being to confirm the honorary freeman of the city status on Mr. Richard Jacobs, in recognition of his outstanding service to the city of Exeter as a local businessman and entrepreneur. Have an opportunity, you see it before you, we have an opportunity now for people to pass comment. You may wish to speak about Richard Jacobs or ask any questions. John, are there anybody indicating that they wish to speak at this time?
Lord Mayor, we need the motion moved and seconded before there can be a debate, Lord Mayor.
Right,
yes.
I apologise.
Lord Mayor, I would like to move the recommendation to confer the freedom of the city upon Richard Jacobs. And in doing so, it would be remiss of me and maybe many others not to mention some of the sterling work that Richard has done throughout his career and lifetime as a citizen of Exeter. Members are reminded there was a criterion which we put and discussed with all the members in order to confer these things. But Richard is a founder member of the founder trustee of the Ted Ragg Educational Trust. He's been actively involved of this. He's been a sponsor of many local projects and has also provided business acumen at board level. His commercial experience and awareness has helped create solid financial foundations and to grow that trust. and so he's actively involved with that. Here at the cathedral, he's grateful for Richard's long-term support. Not only has he been very generous personally, but he has been a linchpin for our engagement with Exeter business community. In particular, he has for 10 years helped organise our Christmas business carol service in the cathedral, and he has been a great stalwart of the work of the cathedral. He's also had many other supportive applications for this. And Lord Mayor, I think, you know, when you think about it, he was founder, chair of the Marsh Barton Forum. He has business interests down around the quay. And from what I see is he puts a lot of money back in, and I think that's very, very important. He's been a magistrate in the city for 23 years and chairman of the youth panel for 9 years, working with youth justice team, and brought Central Devon Magistrates Court to become the 3rd best in the country for dealing with troubled young people. He's encouraged the business community, as I've said, founder trustee, as I've also said. He's worked with our democratic services. He is a member of the Weavers, Fullers and Shearers. And I think, yes, these are the guys who dress in green, and we often see them at the Guildhall, but they play an important role in Exeter with good charitable causes. I think it's always difficult in these things, Lord Mayor, to pick one issue. It is about a lifetime of commitment and work to people in Exeter, which doesn't always get noticed. And I am glad that the panel has agreed to confer upon Richard freedom of the city, which is a very, very important thing. Thank you, Lord Mayor. I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Bialek. Do we have a seconder for this?
Councillor Ledbetter has raised his hand, Lord Mayor, whether he's seconding.
Well, I'm happy to second it. Yeah.
And Councillor Ledbetter, would you like to speak about Richard Jacobs?
I am very happy to say a few words, although I've got to say the leader seems to have covered most of the points already. But I think it's very fair to say that Richard has been a significant member of the Exeter business community over many, many decades, often in the background, but he's done an awful lot. You mentioned some of his achievements, and he's also contributed a lot to the actual fabric of the city. I mean, he's a major employer in the city. He's, as I say, contributed a lot to the Canal and Quay area of the city. I'm not sure whether the leader mentioned he's also been a magistrate for over 20 years. I think he did mention that possibly. So this is a man who's done an awful lot, not always in the public eye, but working behind the scenes. As I say, is one of those unsung heroes in Exeter. I'm very happy to support this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Ledbetter. John, are there anybody else who'd like to speak?
There's no one else indicating, Lord Mayor.
Okay.
Did we mention about the Ted Ragg Trust he'd also started?
I think Phil did, yes.
Yeah, thank you, yeah, okay.
And there are no other speakers, John?
No, Lord Mayor, so it's been moved and seconded, Lord Mayor.
And may I ask then, and we'll do it very quickly now, all those in favour, please show now. It should, right, I'll vote as well. They are, and you must tell us, John.
4.
Lord Mayor, I can't see anyone that hasn't got their hand up. So
Well, I
is that the
declare
easiest
that
way
it
to
was.
say it?
I declare it was unanimous. And at this stage, I'm going to make a public apology for getting in a tangle with my technical equipment earlier on. But that said, I feel we've had a very useful meeting, and I thank you all for your attendance this evening and look forward to catching up with you soon. Thank you all. Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you,
Good
Leader.
night.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Leader.